everyone. Welcome to the Undeniable Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Joshua. I'm your host, and we are talking about protecting our children. It's the most important thing that we could do. Guarding the next generation, protecting those that cannot be protected, guarding the vulnerable. And it's honorable. We must protect it because who or else is going to protect them? If you're watching this is in coming from the background, and I'm not going to get into it, but in the vein of what happened with Jeffrey Epstein and all those files coming out, and just a lot of things in the news with teachers that are molesting female teachers that are molesting students, and this baby's brand that literally creates I forget the name of it. I forget the name of it, but basically it like creates baby products, and it was having highly suggestive, highly sexual content, just demonic, just disgusting. And all of this is coming out all at around the same time. And again, I cannot emphasize enough as a parent how we must protect our children. That's our number one priority. If you're a man watching this, if you're a husband, a dad, a father figure, or just a man in life, we need to protect those that are vulnerable around us. And of course, that goes to women too. Women, we need to protect as mothers. That's your first calling in life, to have that maternal instinct to protect children. But as men, we are supposed to be the protectors. We were built bigger and stronger for a reason. And we have to protect and look out for the dangers of our family. The devil has been after our families since the beginning. Since the beginning. First of all, the devil has been after humanity in general, right? From Eve, from the very first, he has been jealous of us, jealous of God, jealous of this creature. He thought a creature called humans, and he thought that he was going to be it. God obviously had different plans, thank God, and he was cast out, and he's been jealous ever since. So he's been after us. So this being, the devil, who's he going to go after? Is he going to go after the most strongest? Maybe, yeah. But he's definitely going to go after the most vulnerable. And who's the most vulnerable? Who's the most impressionable? Who can be affected the most? And that's children. And he's always been after the children. If we look just in the Bible, not talking about current events, and maybe we'll get to that, but in the Bible, you have the Egyptians casting all the babies into the Nile River during the time of Moses. And again, Moses had a protectant, his mother, his sister Miriam, that put him in a boat and protected him and guarded him and sent him on to the palace. You had Jesus in the time of Jesus, where they tried to kill all the babies under 3 years old when Jesus was first born. First of all, just think about that. We glance over that as if it's a nothing burger, and it's just a story. It happened so long ago, we don't think about it. Imagine right now the United States came into your town and said, well, I don't care who it is. I don't care who you are. If you have a child under 3, that's it. Kill him. What? Why? That's crazy. There'd be revolts. There'd be revolution. People would be going nuts. And they did that. They killed all the babies under 3 years old. Thank God. Jesus Christ had a father figure named Joseph that took him to Egypt for a season to protect him. We need father figures and mother figures and protectants in our life to protect these children. The devil has been after us, after kids, for a while. Look at the one-child policy in China. Millions of babies were killed. Not to get political, but look at the abortion policies right now in the Western world. It actually, not just the Western world, pretty much everywhere. Millions and millions of children are being killed every year. There's more children being killed by the abortion epidemic than the wars, all the wars that ever existed in the history of war. That's insane. That is crazy, and the devil is winning in that department. But we can stop him. We can fight back. He will not rule the. God has won the ultimate victory. And thank God those children, I believe, are going to heaven. So it's not straight. It's horrible, but thank God that there's a silver lining in that. But those are millions of people that are dying, that are not being protected, and the devil is going after them. And now, what does he do? If you make it out and you're not aborted, and you make it out alive, what happens next? You're inundated from childhood with YouTube videos and cartoons and bad influences. And it's like a minefield of trying to get around and navigate life without getting stomped on, sexually assaulted, abused, or just brainwashed in the most horrible way possible. Then we take our young children, and while they're still impressionable, while they still have developing minds, we send them to college, and then they're brainwashed by to be victims, and that they are in this agenda that honestly I do not agree with, this left leaning agenda, and I'm not going to get into it, and I don't want to scare away some of my left leaning listeners, but there is a strong agenda that clearly is not healthy for young children, young adults. It makes a lot of them feel like they're victimless. It's very classist. It's very racist to a certain extent, and it makes a lot of people feel less than and like victims, like they can't be there or they can't take control of their own destiny. And again, it's handicapping. It's cutting an entire generation off at the knees. It's horrible. And again, that's the devil's plan. The devil's plan is to take your children. The devil's plan is to brainwash your kids. That's the devil's target. That's what he wants to do. Let's fight back. Let's fight back. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. We are going to protect our kids. So, today we're going to focus on the three things as men what we can do, because if we're not there for our kids, there's going to be a vacuum, and something is going to fill that vacuum, right? If we're not there, something is going to come in. For men, it might be drugs. It might be gangs. It might be, for men, it might be a bad girlfriend that leads them down the wrong path. It might be literally just suicide. It might be video games that consume their life. It might simply be mediocrity. Well, I don't know what it is, but if there's not a presence in their life to say you can do this or don't do this, or let's raise you up together and you can achieve greatness, then there's going to be a vacuum saying the complete and utterly opposite. You know what I'm saying? There's that scripture in the Bible where it says that a woman cleaned out her house. There's like spirits. They cleaned out the house, and then seven more spirits came. And because again, there was a vacuum, there was a void that came out of that. And for women, what if there's no father in the house? Well, then they might be promiscuous. They might do things that they shouldn't. There are so many girls that are on OnlyFans or just not showing off their bodies on TikTok and Instagram. Then even if they're not online, they are literally giving it up to anyone or everyone. There's and then they're just insecurities. Even if they're chaste, they have such strong insecurities and can be manipulated by strong men or influences in their life. I have seen it time and time again on how a capable woman, a strong woman, has been handicapped, has been living life on way lower than their ultimate potential, simply because they're catering to a loser, a bum of a man. Now, if that woman had standards, if they had a father that said, no, you're not going to accept that, and if they had a father that said, treated them really well, they will accept nothing less than greatness. There's some women that I know that are pretty or smart or intelligent that just accept being abused and beaten by their husbands. They're talented, extremely talented, and they'll be in that situation for decades. Decades. Why don't they leave it? Because they did not have a strong father in their life or strong presence, a strong mother sometimes. Sometimes they had nothing at all to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of that situation, right? So, again, you might not have kids. You might not have kids right now. You might have kids in the future. You might be a parent like me. That regardless, there are people in your sphere of influence that need protecting. And if we as a society, the strong ones in society, or the ones that weren't as weak, helped protect the ones that are vulnerable around us, the ones that are in our sphere, that are in our circle of influence, society would be much better off. I've said this statistic before, and I'm going to beat it over the head. I believe that over 80% of incarcerated individuals do not have a father figure at home. That is crazy to me. The majority of high school dropouts do not have a father figure at home. We need to protect our children. We need to be there. We need to be present. We need to be there. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the three, and pull up my phone to pull up my notes. We have the three levels of protection. One is physical protection. Two is emotional protection. And the third is spiritual protection. Okay? All three are equally important. Maybe physical is probably the most, but all three are just as and equally as powerful. And we have the potential to protect the people around us. We have that potential. So let's go over each one. So we're going to go to number one, physical protection. Excuse me. This is the obvious, okay? This might be not the easiest, but it's the most obvious. We have to physically be aware of our children, to be present, to be around them, to not send them off into their rooms by themselves, to lock them up on a computer device that literally opens up the world as a portal to them. I've never in our lives, in the history of the world, have we had such access to information instantly at our fingertips. Instantly. You can get the news, you could download a movie, you could watch inappropriate things, you could watch gory things, you can talk to literally anyone in a matter of moments. You can put any video out there. You could post a video of yourself, and in moments it's across the web, being shared by millions, and you can never take it back. It's permanent, it's global, and it's damning. We should protect our children from the internet. Parental controls. It's such an easy step. Such an easy step. And again, we might not get it all right. Might not be perfect. But if we can start taking action steps little by little, you can eliminate the majority of problems with our kids. So first of all, no computers in my house. No computers alone in a room. Never. Never. Because that's where the hiding comes. That's where I hid in my life. I was a kid too. I was quick with it. I could hide the things on my computer really quick, put it in a way that it wasn't traceable. Here's a funny story. I was homeschooled as a child, and my parents, if they watch this, they're probably going to roll their eyes at me. And we were homeschooled as children, and we were watching VHS tapes. So we had a VCR hooked up to a TV. Now, there's a lot of us children. I have 11 brothers and sisters. We'd hook up the VCR to the television, and there was only so many TVs. So there was the main living room TV, there was a TV in my parents' bedroom, and then there was a TV in my bedroom with the kids. So we'd separate. So we'd work in shifts. I was upstairs in my parents' bedroom. Now, we had direct TV, which only went downstairs, and if you switched off the direct TV, you had access to the local over the air channels. So what I would do is that I would switch on with the remote, and I'd have a mirror so I could see who was coming in. I could hear by the footsteps somebody approaching the door, so that I knew that I would have time to change. I set previous channel back to the VHS tape. So I would watch something all day long while supposedly doing schoolwork, and then the minute somebody came in the door, switch it and switch it back. And this is where I got my sexual awakening from. I learned about things that I should not have learned about by watching the Maury Povich show during the day, by watching Jerry Springer during the day, by watching all these crappy brain rot television shows. And my parents did not know. They never suspected. To this day, I know if my mom watches this, she's going to be shocked because I never told her. I literally would just flip back on the channel in an instant, put my tape was playing as if nothing even happened, and I just sit there like a good schoolboy watching it while they came in, checked on me. Oh, he's doing school. Very good. Turn around, walk out, flip it right back to Jerry Springer, and watch the most salacious. Well, you know what Jerry Springer is. It's garbage. But rest in peace. But that's my thing. Even and that was before internet. That was before computers. That was literally just me flipping through cable channels. How much more information? How much more degradation do people have access to? Another story that I'm going to tell you. As a child, I would wake up, and again, I know my parents are rolling their eyes back, maybe laughing, maybe wanting to punch me, but uh, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would turn on the HBO After Dark channels, which was literally softcore porn, and I'd flip to that, and I'd watch it, and that's how I'd get my porn fix. And then again, I knew the tricks of the trade. I'd flip the TV off the minute if I heard somebody wake up, heard somebody coming. I'd pre-change it so it goes to the previous channel. Change a couple channels up so if they decided to do the pre-change option, it wouldn't go to that. Shut off the TV real quick, and then literally lay down on the couch and pretend that I fell asleep on the couch. And I don't think I was ever caught, but my point is that kids will find a way. Protect them. No computers by themselves. In fact, I don't give my computers a phone. I'm sorry, my computers. I don't give my kids a phone just yet, and I don't think you should. The first thing that I'm gonna get them are those smartwatches or maybe those walkie-talkies. I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking about it, but there's no reason for kids to have access to unfettered, brokered, unregulated technology. It's a weapon of mass destruction that will destroy your kids. It's a window into your kid's soul. Protect your kids. And if that's one way, and again, it's hard, I know. There's going to be other kids that have internet devices when they go to school, and it's going to be hard, but you are protecting them, and they will thank you for it when they are older. They're not going to become 22, 25, 26 years old, say, damn, my mom didn't let me use the internet. They're going to realize and be parents themselves and say, shoot, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that they didn't allow me to do that. I wanted a smartphone as a kid so much. Looking back, I'm like, shoot, my parents really protected me. So that's one of the physical things. Don't leave your kids alone with strangers. Don't obviously. There are plenty of good men out there, plenty of good men, but you never know. Never leave your kids alone with men. That's again 90% of the problem right there, and it's not all men are bad. Not most men are good. On the contrary, but most crimes happen because of men. And I believe it's hormonal. I believe that men have hormones. They have, issues and desires, but some men can't regulate. Some men can't control themselves. It's disgusting. There's no excuse for it. It's horrible. So protect your children. Again, I'm not going to let my children be watched maybe for 10 seconds if I'm running somewhere. I will not let my children be watched by a man regularly. I don't want to watch another parent's kids. I don't. For me personally, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to be put in that position, and I don't think that's men's calling. And not to get controversial or whatever, but again, 90% of the crimes happen from men. Let's protect them. Strangers in general. We're hearing stories more and more of women as well. So make sure that the people around you are vetted, that they that your children are protected. And again, nothing replaces you as a parent. And you only have them for so long. This is only a small period of your life. You're not going to be a parent forever. So try not to push them onto the babysitter so much, or the grandmother, or the grandfather, or the uncle, or the aunt. Try not to push them on as much, so much. If you have to, you have to. I get that. Life happens. I use babysitters, right? And I trust my babysitters. I trust the people who watch my kids so much. But nothing replaces the love of a parent. Nothing replaces what you can do. I remember there was my parents were there for me from most of my life. They had businesses, so they were there in the home all day long. My dad did not go out and work. My mom ran the business from the house. And so I saw them every day. They were there every day. They were very present in my life. There was a season that there were other people in my life. And they were from the church. They were teachers. They were tutors. I'm grateful for them. They were great. I was grateful for them, but it felt like a little bit of a void in my life that in that season my parents felt absent to me. They were there, but just as a kid, it felt like they weren't to a certain extent. So again, kids remember this stuff, and their childhood is so short. My 7-year-old, I was looking at him the other day, and I am flabbergasted on how big and how grown this little man is. And I am now picking him up every second I get at 7 years old because I'm realizing the time is running out. I realized the other day I won't be able to hold him for much longer. He's not going to let me, or he's going to be too big, or it's going to be awkward. So I am grabbing this kid and literally hugging him and holding him 5 times a day because I'm realizing, shoot, it's running out. You don't have that long of a window with your children. Spend time with them. That is the biggest protectant. If you're physically there in the room with them, what can happen? Is somebody going to try something with you? Maybe. You're right. Maybe. But again, you will eliminate 80% of things around you. And that's the key. We can never protect our kids 100%. We can never eliminate all possibilities, but we can make things wildly safer. We can make put the statistics in our favor, right? So, if I don't know, if I live on the beach, right? On the beach at sea level and in a hurricane prone area, and I've been like without on the ocean, right? The odds of my house getting flooded or just getting rain damage are astronomically higher than my cabin here in the Poconos on a mountain in the woods that doesn't get touched by hurricanes. We might have gotten hit by one hurricane in the past 20 years, and it was just rainfall. And again, I'm in the mountains. I'm not going to get flooded. But somebody who might be in Key West on Florida or, somewhere, their chances of getting flooded are 10 times more, 100 times more than mine. Again, let's take away the statistical chances of our kids being harmed. So be there. That's the easiest thing. Guard them from the internet. Protect them. Protect their devices. Monitor who they're hanging out with. Be a present parent. That is the number one most important thing that we can do physically. No sleepovers. There's nothing wrong with sleepovers if you're there as the parent and their kids are physically separated. But a lot of times, sexual assault happens between children when they are not being supervised, when they are under the blankets by themselves, separate blankets for everybody. That is non negotiable. Okay? Protect your children. Okay? So that's physical. Let's move on to number 2, the emotional protection. Okay? And this is about avoiding, or maybe not avoiding, but just teaching them how to deal with the manipulators and those nagging voices in life. It's teaching discernment, who to listen to and who to not listen to. There are family members that are extremely negative. They are Debbie Downers. They make people feel like they're victims. They just talk about gossip. There's a Spanish word called bonchinche. They're talking about all this garbage. And you don't want your kids around that all the time. Now, again, sometimes you can't avoid some family members, family dinners, gatherings, birthday parties. I get that. This, to a certain extent, you can't protect them all. You can't put them in bubble wrap. But for the most part, you can teach them, let's not talk that way. We don't talk badly about people like that. Let's not talk negatively about this person or that person. Let's not call your friends ugly. Let's not call your friends stupid. What you heard at that table, that's not right. And you teach them discernment. You teach them to listen to the correct voices. You should listen. Oh, that pastor, if you want to listen to what he said, that is good. If this person in your life, that's discernment. Because, and teaching them to learn what's right and wrong. My kids, they had an amazing teacher when they were at Lady Queen of Peace on Staten Island named Miss Nancy. And Miss Nancy taught them red choices and green choices. It could have been also Miss Mary. I'm not sure which one, to be honest. But they taught them red choices and green choices. And we continue that with our children's lives. Again, I have young children, but is that a red choice or is that a green choice? And there's a lot of red choices in life. There's a lot of green choices in life. Let's make sure that you're discerning to see which one is the correct choice. Teaching boundaries, okay? Going back to physical boundaries. You are not to be touched. You tell people not to touch you. And if you get touched, you tell your parents. No secrets. That's a boundary. You do not, if an adult is telling you secrets, you run and tell mommy and daddy. No such thing as secrets in our family. No such things as secrets from another adult or child for that matter. No secrets. Secrets are bad. Why? Because you have to create that boundary, because that's where people manipulate children. They take control of children, and you have to teach kids to say no. No, please don't touch me there. Please don't do that. And boundaries are, I wish I was taught boundaries. I was not. So it was hard for me to say no as an adult. If you want children that are not people pleasers and are able to say no as adults, teach them boundaries when young. And we want to raise confident children that speak up. When your children speak up, please, I cannot emphasize this enough. Please don't diminish it. The first thing that we do, the first thing that many women do is, no, that's not true. Your father didn't do that. No, no, no. Your brother didn't do that. No, no, no. Your uncle didn't do that. If they're saying it for a reason. Sorry, we had to take a 2-second break, but we want to raise children to speak up and not be afraid to talk. Let them be heard. Look engaged when they're talking to you, even when it's not something that's important. Kids blow up issues to make it seem like it's the end of the world over losing a toy or a little argument with their friends or something that might be upsetting them. Don't diminish it. Don't dismiss it. Make them feel heard, because if they feel heard on the small things, they will come to you for the big things. And you want them to come to you for the big things. You want them comfortable enough to say, mommy and daddy, this happened. Even if you might get upset about it, even if it's something that they did wrong, if your child is coming to you saying that this happened, please don't pounce on them right away. Obviously you need to teach. Obviously you need to discipline. It's more importantly that they build that trust with you. You need to set boundaries. Nope, because you did this, this happens. There's consequences. I'm 100% all for that. I think you must do that young so they can establish that, have that mindset growing up. But you want them to feel comfortable and safe to come tell you, I messed up. Because a lot of times that happens. How many, just think back in our lives when we've been messed up, when we've done things that we shouldn't have, or we've all done it, we've all made mistakes, and say, shoot, I wish I had somebody that I could talk to. I wish my parents were more I wish my parents were more understanding at the time. I feel like my mom has come way around now. She's way more understanding. But back in the day, especially my dad, there was no understanding. It was this way or the highway, and it made me very secretive. It made me very insecure to tell them things, and I felt like I was on an island, and that's never healthy for a child. And again, protect, be that open ear for your kids because somebody else will, and that somebody else is usually does not have your child's best interest at heart. Alrighty, so that is the emotional protection. And then the spiritual protection. And some people might gloss over this. They might say, how important, it's not that important. And if you're a devout Christian, you probably will realize the importance of this. But the spiritual protection is vital because you have these little voices, these spirits talking into the inner ear of your children. You want to take control of that monologue, take control of that voice, and be what is influencing and feeding your children's inner voice, their inner dialogue, and what they say to themselves for the rest of their lives. If kids around school are telling them that they're fat or stupid, they will for the rest of their lives think that they're fat or stupid. If they think that they're less than or not capable or not intelligent or not disciplined, they will think that. Kids that say, "Oh my God, you're such a bratty kid. You have no discipline." They end up being bratty and have no discipline as adults. They own the mindset that you impart on them. Now, if you tell them you're diligent, oh my God, they own it. It becomes their responsibility. It becomes their identity. It becomes part of who they are. Again, I know I'm bringing up a lot of topics that if my parents watch this might be cringing. They might be, and again, mom, dad, I love you. You know, please don't think, please don't think that I am complaining. But as a child, I was told young, my parents were very zealous. They're health nuts. Okay. They're extremely healthy. I don't think I've ever seen my dad eat a hamburger ever. I never see him eat red meat. I've never seen him. I don't, he never touches anything that's not vegetables, salmon, and chicken. Health nut. Biking every day. My mom too. My mom, who's skinny as a rail, says, I'm going to go fasting. Mom, I don't think you need to be going fasting, but sure, you're going to disappear behind that pencil. Um, I'm joking. But they were very concerned about their children. And I was a little bit of a chunkier kid. So at 5 years old, I remember them putting me on skim milk. And I remember hating the taste of it and thinking that I was different from all the rest of the kids because I was the only one on skim milk. That rewired my brain chemistry. As a child, I grew up thinking that I was fatter and bigger than everybody else. And I had to start losing weight as young as 5 years old. 7, 8, 9, 10. Go outside and go jog. Well, why do I have to jog? Why aren't my brothers jogging? Why am I the only one jogging? Well, you got to lose weight. Okay, so I start jogging. Go jog around the house 3 times. Okay. Sure. And I grew up thinking that I was fat. And maybe I was chubby. I'm not going to debate that. I was a little bit bigger than my brothers, but I was a growing kid. And I would probably thinned out if I didn't have that mentality. I did thin out. When I was 16, I'm looking back at pictures of this year that I was like working in Florida. I I would give my right pinky to look that size again. I must have been 160 pounds at 5'10", 5'9" at the time. I wasn't my full height. And I was thick. I was strong, muscular. I looked so good, and I thought I was gigantic. I thought I was huge. I thought I was so insecure in my body at that time. And I look back, I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? In every area of my life, I'm like, I remember one time, right when I was getting married around that time, I was around 200 pounds. And I was a little big, okay? I wasn't thin, but I was around 210 pounds-ish when I got married to my wife. I'm 5'11". I'm not short. I was doing construction at the time. I was a little stronger, so I had some muscle on me. I looked fine. I thought I was gigantic. I thought I was obese, like huge. And yes, I was on the heavy side. I'm not saying that I wasn't. But I lived with that identity for the rest of my life. And I lived with a good identity too. I was told from as an early child that I was a good listener. And I feel like I still am because I've lived with that identity. I was told as a kid, wow, you listen so well. And I feel like I do that now. I was told as a kid, oh, you're a tech genius. You could do all this stuff with tech. And I'm still doing it to this day. The inner voices that we hear as children, we carry that for the rest of our lives. If you're told that you're pretty, you're going to think that you're pretty growing up. If you're told that you're smart, you're going to think that you're smart growing up. But on the contrary, if you're told that you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're not disciplined, you're not good enough, you're a bad child, why are you misbehaving? I'm going to put you on punishment, blah, 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 blah. It bombards, and hits the kids in the face. And it ruins them. So we need to be the first protectants with our voices, the spiritual protectants for their own psyche. Protect your children. Protect your children from the outside influences, the inside influences, their inner monologues, all of it. So physical, emotional, and spiritual. And then the contrary, what we can do in the opposite of talking negative, talk positive. Talk into them, give them, I know it sounds like it's a buzzword today, but daily affirmations. You can do this. You're smart. You could do that. How do you feel that you accomplish that? We can do the hard things. That's a mantra in my family. What can we do? We could do the hard things. We could do it. Don't give up. You can persevere. And then and then we have to cover our children with prayer. And I know that's like a given, especially as a Christian, but honestly, God will cover the gap. God will protect where we fall. We could try and do everything right. We will still fail in some areas. There will be some things that us as parents will say, the kids will say to us as parents, I wish you did this a little bit better. I'm going to make mistakes. I am. And that is where God covers the gap. We try as hard as we can, but then God protects and does the rest. So keep your children in prayer. God can take you so far. I mean, you can go so far. And then at some point, God needs to split the Red Sea. Moses did everything God asked him to do. He went and spoke to Pharaoh. He led his people out of Egypt. But then there's a certain point that Moses' capabilities ended. He got to the Red Sea, and it was closed. He's not going to build boats overnight. He's not going to be able to swim like Michael Phelps across the water with a nation of old and kids and normal people behind him. He's not going to turn around and fight an army with no weapons. That's where God comes in. Do everything that you're supposed to do. Get your kids to the waterfront. Get them to the shore. Then stick your staff in the water, which is you praying. And then let God open up that sea and take your kids the rest of the way. But let's try to do, if we can become 80, 90% better, that is infinitely, or that will give us infinitely better results. And our kids will live infinitely better lives than if we didn't. Me personally, I'm trying to take every action step that I can to protect my kids. I moved them out to the country. I took them out of Staten Island. Not that there's anything wrong with Staten Island. It's great. I think the country's better. I think living a country life, not in the New York City influences, I think that's better for them. So I took them out. I pulled my kids out of school. I had them in private school, private Catholic school. I homeschool my kids now. I used to give my kids breakfast cereals. I used to give my kids McDonald's and chicken nuggets. Now I give them eggs and ground beef and whole grains now, and beans and fiber, because I want them to grow. And I want to protect them physically. I want to protect them spiritually. I want to protect them emotionally. Take every step that you can within your power. Now, you might be able to do one of those steps. You might not be able to do all of them. You could maybe eliminate sugar from their diet and red dye and give them eggs in the morning, but you might not be able to homeschool and you might not be able to move. That's fine. Or you're in a rush, got to give them the cereal, but you could take away the tablet and make them go play outside in the backyard. There you go. You might be able to take the drastic step and homeschool your kids, but you can't move. Again, that's still good. That's still a step in the right direction. You might you might be able to move, and the best you could do is send them to public school, but then just talk to them at the end of the day. Hang out with them. Be present. I'm not saying that we can do everything all at once, but one step in the right direction will be paying dividends in your children's lives. Will have ripples for generations to come. So, we are not going to be perfect, but we can be present and we can be better every single day. So, I want to encourage you that you're doing a good job already. If you're listening to this podcast, if you've gotten this far, you're an invested parent. You're invested protectant. And I appreciate you looking out for the next generation. Thank you for joining me today. We're trying to post every single week, and please like and subscribe. It helps us out so much. Please follow us on Instagram, but really hitting that subscribe button will do wonders for us. So thank you for joining me on the Undeniable Podcast.